So let's learn how to find user objects. One way to do it is using the find method. And in this case, we can give it an ID if we want to, just user.find of 1. You can see that that actually finds the user record right here, returns it. Let's give it an ID that we definitely know doesn't exist. Let's just say find of 100. So you can see in that case, find returns an error. It's an active record not found error. Couldn't find user with ID equals 100. So remember what foo is. Here's foo. Foo.id is 3. So let's do this. User.find of 3. This should return that same error. I guess it should raise that same error. That's good. So this means that that user doesn't exist. In fact, we could even be more abstract here. We could do user.find of foo.id. This should give us the same error. This is pretty noisy, so you can actually use a second method called user.findBy. See here, this will actually just return nil if it doesn't exist. That's weird. What happened there? That is not at all what I expected. That's really strange. That's a bug. Oh, no, it's not. It's a bug in my thinking. So findBy, this is instructive. It actually did something useful here. So what it's doing here for some reason is it's just returning the first record. Oh, I see what's going on. So we can actually debug this by looking at the SQL. Select users.star from users where 3. So I believe this is just true. So what it's doing is it's saying, well, just return a bunch of users, limit 1. So that means return only one user. And what it's doing is just returning the first user in the database. So findBy does not work the same way as find. So user.find of 3 gives us that error, right? But user.findBy, we actually have to say what we're finding by, in this case, the ID. So if we do find by ID 3, that gives us this nil. That means the user doesn't exist, so that confirms what we were hoping for. And of course, we can do this too. We can do ID is 1, and that should pull out the first user. There we go. By the way, there's no guarantee that this 1 is actually the first user. This ID could be anything, so you should never rely on that. If you need the first user, you can do something like this. User.first. Even this is a little dangerous because we haven't specified in this model what the ordering is. But we'll see in lesson 11 how to impose an actual ordering so that we can guarantee that user.first, or in that case micropost.first, will return the right value. This user.findById is potentially useful if we want to find a user that might or might not exist, and we don't want to deal with that exception. But there's another way to find users by an attribute using the email. And this is actually the most important way for our purposes. I'm going to find by the email address, and this is actually how we're going to log users in. When users try to log in, they'll submit their email address and password, and so we're going to find them using their email address and then see if the password matches. We saw up here that we can pull out the first user in the database. There's another method for returning all the users. That's just user.all. We actually saw this briefly in lesson 2. We can also see here by inspection that user 3, the foo user, in fact does not appear in the list. Yet more confirmation that foo.destroy actually did what we wanted it to do.